Hey guys, and welcome back to Kasima, your watering well to be equipped, encouraged, and ignited in God's Word. Today, I want to jump in really quickly to talk about self-care and the importance of it in your life. This is one of the things that came up in my 3 tips for entering the new year video, where it talks about kind of balancing between things that are super task oriented and work related and things that are strictly for fun. And self-care comes into that theme of like fun, for enjoyment, for taking care of yourself, to have as balanced as possible a year. So for fear of rambling like I did in that video, I have a list in front of me, so I might look down a little bit just to make sure I stay on track and this does not become a super lengthy video. But onto one of the first things, and these are not in any kind of prioritized order. You can prioritize them for yourself, but these I just wrote them down as they came up. I'm going to talk about them in that form as well. Okay, so number one, it helps to avoid burnout. What do you mean? So a lot of times we tend to kind of keep self-care at bay because we're so task-oriented and so focused on accomplishing a task that we forget that if we're not taking time to decompress, to disconnect, to feed our mind, body, soul, that we're actually doing more damage than good. Like literally you stop being able to function as well as possible, being as productive as possible in that activity. So just noticing self-care is a way of avoiding burnout. Number two, self-care actually gives room for more creativity. So a lot of times as you take care of yourself, your body's not so focused on staying on the go, and using all the resources, internal and external, to maintain that there's room to actually sit back and like have some ideas flowing. And it's awesome even and not just letting self-care be like an option for creativity, but scheduling like brainstorming sessions. Whatever that might be, it could be brainstorming for self-care activities, it could be brainstorming for your business and like some activities or projects you want to do in the upcoming quarters, things like that. But it allows for more creativity and more room for kind of new ideas to show up, but also ways of achieving those projects or those ideas in goal setting. Number three, I wrote that it helps it's almost like hitting a refresh button, and I do this so many times with students, especially those who come freaking out during midterms and finals, like, oh my gosh, I can't concentrate, I've been pulling all-nighters, and I'm like, that's one of the reasons why you can't concentrate. When your body's not well rested, there is no way it can focus on a task. Like, we are geared to require food, clothing, shelter, but rest. And when you are eliminating any of those things, or you don't have those things stabilized, then it's difficult to function at your optimal level. So it is a way of refreshing. And again, it doesn't have to be like, oh yes, I'm going to get a full night's rest, but even in the small things, like I'm going to eat balanced meals, I'm going to stay hydrated. Our body's made up of 70 to 80% water, and a lot of times when you are dehydrated, even like it's difficult to focus because your body is depleted, and it's like trying to maintain bodily function is not able to now start getting task oriented. So just remember that piece. And just the refresh button also like helps you to come back fresh and renewed, and you might be able to see something that you weren't able to see previously. Like, in my work with students, whether it's in like essay writing, like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to make this 5-page into a 10-pager. And it's like, it will give you room to see different ways of like expanding a topic or a section, or making one sentence into an entire paragraph, things like that. Another thing, and I think this is number 4 now, it helps with resilience. So if you keep facing stress without balancing it out with self-care, where it becomes more manageable, you keep getting more and more depleted and more discouraged in being able to handle difficulty or stress. So just in being able to balance that, it allows you to kind of go through your Rolodex of memories, like, oh yeah, I endured this and this and this and this and this crisis. I can totally endure this one that's right in front of me. 5, it boosts self-love and self-esteem. Believe it or not, when you prioritize yourself and you take time to just love on you, to take care of you, to listen to what your needs might be in the moment, whether it's I need a nap, I need a snack, I need water, I need juice, I need just to read something that is not oriented with like my school or my job, or whatever other activities you're invested in. When you take time to listen to what you want in the moment and to give that to yourself as a way of just treating yourself and loving on you, it totally boosts how you feel about yourself and your own self-esteem in the moment. So if you find yourself like struggling with, self-love in the moment, find an activity to do for you, whether it's like paint your nails, wash your hair, beat your face for no reason, even if you're not going anywhere, dress up, bake something. I have been so obsessed with cornbread muffins that it takes 20 minutes, literally. Like, by the time you crack an egg, throw in some oil, mix that sucker up, and put it in the oven, 15, sometimes 12 to 15 minutes later, I have like soft, warm cornbread on the ready with my butter and syrup, and it's delicious. And I do that for me. And even when my husband is like, girl, you gonna make this at 11 p.m.? Yes, that's what I want right now. And I know I'm gonna be up for a little while, so why not? But anyway, you find what works for you, and here I am rambling. So to the next one, it reduces the impact of stress on your life. So a lot of times, like, stress comes with anxiety, stress comes with depression, stress comes with lack of focus and concentration, stress comes with discouragement, stress comes with giving up. So when you self-care, it reduces the impact of all those things. Like, it's one thing to be like, I'm experiencing anxiety, but I disconnected, took care of myself, and you know what? I'm ready to jump back right in and take on this activity and try to do my best. It helps you to think about your resources that are available to you. Like, oh my gosh, this friend or this person or this colleague, I know they've worked on this before, they have expertise in this area. It helps you even to notice what your network of support looks like. So definitely add self-care to whatever task you're doing, whether it's taking 15 breaks every hour you work on an activity, whether it's just how you start your day. Make sure I start my day with 10 minutes of meditation and stretching and my breakfast, and I meal plan, and I pack my lunch, and I'm going to disconnect to take my lunch whether it's setting alarms. Like, sometimes I get so in my flow that I'll forget to break. So sometimes knowing that I'm going to be in an activity that I thoroughly enjoy or get consumed by, I will set an alarm like 2 hours from now, this alarm's going to ring, and it's going to be my way of like bringing me back to so that I can disconnect for a little bit, go hit my refresh button, and jump back into the task. Another one, we already talked about this before, it helps with focus and concentration. Like I said, when your body is in depletion mode, it's worrying about maintaining internal activities, whether it's make sure you're breathing, your heart rate, your body temperature, your sugar levels are as balanced as possible so that you don't just black out in the middle of nowhere. So it's going to be much more difficult to concentrate and feel task oriented. And one more, it's not a reward for accomplishing a task. And I just wanted to write that in there because I live by this motto that self-care is part of productivity. It is not a reward for productivity, but it is a means to that end of productivity. So if you want to be productive and as productive as possible in the shortest amount of time, make room for self-care. Even before you start a task, make sure you're in the best mind state. Like, do a guided meditation, have your to-do list ready just so you feel like you have all your eggs in a row about what needs to happen. All those things help with you feeling like kind of starting a task as prepared as possible, but also when you have taken care of you or made a strategy of how you're going to disconnect when things get overwhelming, you actually have anticipation and look forward to, coming up upon a dilemma. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's just an invitation to disconnect a little bit, hit the refresh button, and then jump back in. And lastly, it assists in prioritization. What do I mean? So when you take the time to disconnect, sometimes whatever task is overwhelming you in the moment, sometimes you get to reorient and be like, actually, I can put this on pause for a little bit and come back to it a little bit later. This can get done now, or this needs to get done now, and that one I can come back to. But also not just in whatever task you're doing, but in just remembering to put you first. Like I said, this self-care helps with self-love and kind of feeding your self-worth and your self-esteem. So it helps to remind you that you are the most important thing in any equation. Whether it comes to work, whether it comes to play, whether it comes to your job, whatever it comes to assignments, whatever tasks or projects you volunteered for, you are the most important equation, or the most important variable in that equation. if you're not functioning at 100%, you're going to be of no use to yourself or to others and to the task at hand. So reminding you to prioritize you, prioritize your well-being, prioritize your functioning in the moment, prioritize that all your needs are met, whether they're mental, emotional, physical, financial, gastrointestinal. That's part of physical, but I talk a lot about like food and hydration because those tend to be the biggest things that get forgotten, including rest. But just making sure that you are at your optimal best and that you're showing up at 100%. Another thing I talked about in the 3 tips for entering the new year video, it helps you remembering to put you first, and then everything else will follow. Okay, so those were about 8 or 9 tips. I think on my list there were 10, but I ended up meshing a few of them. That's why I stopped numbering. But yeah, those are a few tips to review and to see which ones are applicable for you, which ones are relevant for you based on how your workflow has been, and how can you start integrating them and make them realistic goals. It could be, look, I can't afford right now to meal plan all the time, but at least I'll have fruits for a snack, or cashews, or all these different things for snacks based on what I enjoy. Oh my gosh, I do love to cook, but the meals I love to cook are so kind of complex and grand, but I can bake something quick and easy, or I can look in Pinterest for like 20-minute recipes that are hearty and will be filling. I've not been one of the best people around like planning my tasks ahead, so I'm going to try to come up with at least a list of sorts in how to organize my tasks so I can feel like I have some clear direction of how I'm going, but also priority wise to know what needs to get handled first and what can wait. And lastly, like I said, with the prioritizing self, how have I been infusing taking care of me and making sure even before I start a task, I'm at the best place possible. Okay, hope those have been helpful. Definitely comment and give any kind of feedback of what's been helpful, what could I have included, what has worked for you, because there are other people who are benefiting from the conversations that you have in the comment section below. So looking forward to hearing from you, and until the next video, later lovelies, bye.